Hi everyone, welcome to Meet Me at the SPCA. I'm Jim Boudreau, Executive Director of the SPCA of Tompkins County. We're going to head over to the shelter now and visit with Olivia in our cat wing, one of our volunteers, who's going to feature some of the cats we have currently available for adoption. We're then going to head over to the dog wing and check in with Tanya and see what dogs we have available. Joining me in the studio a little bit later is Dr. Jamie Morrissey from Cornell University, and we're going to talk a little bit about the exotic animals that we see at the shelter, as well as some of the work that he does on his own working with exotics locally in our community. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.
Hi there, my name's Olivia. I'm an adoption counselor here at the SPCA. I used to be a volunteer though, so I did spend a lot of time here in the cat wing. And this right here is Willie Mays. He is a super affectionate, very playful 12-year-old male. He was surrendered to us when his owner was no longer able to kind of give him the love and attention he deserves. He has been declawed, so it's very important that he stay inside for the rest of his life, where he doesn't really have anything to protect him from everything that is outside waiting for him. He would do best in a home that is nice and quiet, but would probably do well with kids of any age as long as they were respectful and attentive to him. He is, however, not too fond of cats and very afraid of dogs, so it's important that he kind of be the only animal in the household. So if you're thinking about visiting this all-star and maybe adding him to your lineup, definitely come visit him here at the main shelter on Hanshaw Road today. So this is Ginger. She's beautiful and, as you can see, quite voluptuous. She was surrendered here over a year ago. She was abandoned in an apartment building. And so she's definitely made herself quite the queen here at the main shelter and at our annex location. So she's definitely ready to be the queen and spread her reign to a new household. She is very sweet, very affectionate, but is very particular with how she's handled. So it'd be best if she's with older children that can kind of respect how she wants to be approached and interacted with. She is not fond of other cats or other dogs, so she would definitely have to be supreme and the one and only in the household, but she definitely makes up for it with her charm and her affection. So if you're interested, definitely stop by the main shelter and visit her today. So this is Casey Jade. She is the definition of an independent woman. She knows exactly what she wants when she wants it. So it would be best for her to go to a home with very cat-savvy people that know when to love her and kind of when to leave her alone. She would do best in a home with no children and no animals. She's lived with another cat, but she really wants to be the star of the show. So she really needs to be the only cat in the household and the only animal in general. She's very sweet, very playful, but she is very particular. So if you do interact with her more than she's comfortable with, she'll kind of let you know. So you just have to be a little bit more sensitive to that. She's been at the shelter for over a year now, so it's really time for her to find a home. If you're interested in visiting with her, she's waiting for you right here at Hanshaw Road, the SPCA.
Hi, my name is Tanya, and I'm a volunteer at the SPCA of Tompkins County, and I'm here to introduce you some of the adoptable dogs at the SPCA. We're filming outside today because the snow has melted. Woohoo! Birds are chirping. I'd like you to meet, this is Cameron, who has just come in as a stray, so she's not really attached to that name Cameron. Golden Retriever, approximately 2 years old. I just met her 20 minutes ago, and she just came right up to me and sniffed me. So really friendly and sweet, really sweet face. A little nervous because she's brand new to this environment. Kind of breaks my heart when you think of these dogs that are homeless with nobody looking out for them, but I trust that she's going to be in a loving home soon. She is just such a sweetheart. She tested well with other dogs. Hasn't been tested with cats, so if you have cats, the SPCA could test her with cats. Loves to sniff. She's just dying to break away and sniff right now, but she's been really good. But if you think you're the family for Cameron, come on in and meet her. This is Shelby. Shelby is a 9.5-year-old Shih Tzu. Still has a lot of spring in her step. This is a breed that can live to 16 or 17 years old. She came in, her elderly owners unfortunately couldn't care for her anymore, so she was in pretty rough shape. She was matted and hideous. It took a while to fix that, but look at her, she's beautiful now. She does have a few treatable health issues. She has chronic dry eyes, so that would involve putting ointment in her eyes daily, but she's a real good sport with putting ointment in the eyes. She was a little nervous when she came in, and that's important to understand when you visit dogs at the SPCA. You know, they're coming into an environment that's probably pretty scary for them. When she came in recently, she was pretty shut down, pretty fearful. You know, she's coming from a loving home of 9.5 years, and it's pretty scary. But she's coming out of her shell now. It's just taking her time. But that's an important thing to remember when you visit any shelter. The dogs are probably in their most anxious state that you'll see them. It's an unfamiliar environment. Lots of strange people, strange dogs. They're in their room alone for a lot of time, and you know, they come from all sorts of backgrounds. So keeping that in mind when you visit the dogs is an important thing. But she is a sweetheart. Look at her. She is still peppy, but her favoriteest thing in the world is to snuggle. She would love a household with somebody that just loves to hold her and snuggle her. She would be a fantastic, loving, fluffy companion for anybody. But a household, probably not high energy household, since she's not hugely high energy, but short walks and lots of snuggling. So if Shelby sounds like the gal for you, come on and visit the SPCA. Come meet Shelby. Good girl. This is Gracie, who is as cute as can be. She's a teeny tiny pit bull, 8 months, and very curious, wanting to sniff everything right now because she was just in a room for hours. She tested well with other dogs and cats. She is playful and energetic, so probably a household that likes to play, likes to go on walks. But as you can see, she's very well behaved too. She's very easy on a leash. Will do anything for treats, so I think she's very trainable as well. And a cuddle bug. She's just getting to know me, but you can tell she's a sweetheart. And look at the hair. Can you resist the hair? I don't think so. Good girl. Come on in and meet Gracie. This is Pansy. Pansy is a 4.5-year-old poodle mix. Came in recently when her human passed away, so it's been a little bit hard transition for her. She is as sweet as can be, and you can't help but kiss her. She's just so soft and sweet. Medium energy. I mean, she does like to play around a little and loves a good squeaky toy, but this is what she loves. And she also does a really cute dance when she wants something. She does this ooh thing, very cute. So that's a bonus, the little poodle dance. But she is sweet. So I think a household where the person just loves to snuggle, she would be ecstatically happy. She does do well with other dogs. She actually came in with 2 other dogs and had to say goodbye to them when they were adopted. So she is ready for her forever home. And for many days of snuggling. Come on in and eat Pansy.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed those available pets that we have for adoption. For more information on any of those pets, you can visit our website or email us at adoptions@spcaonline.com. Joining me now in the studio is Dr. Jamie Morrissey. He is the Chief of Exotic Services at Cornell University's Animal Hospital, as well as a senior lecturer there. Jamie, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome, Jim.
Thanks. So typically in the shelter, I think most people realize that mainly what we see every year is a lot of dogs and cats. We do see our fair share of exotic animals that come in throughout the year. This year we've seen snakes, we've seen some lizards,
Yep.
We even had a couple of tarantulas recently. Fish are very common for us, usually small birds, parakeets. We see a fair amount of those a year. Sometimes we do need some additional help, and we
Right.
reach out to you to help us with some of those animals. Ferrets and rabbits are also quite common. Why don't you talk to us just a little bit about ferrets and rabbits and how they differ from your normal cat or dog and what you need to know in terms of adopting an animal like that?
Sure. We can start with ferrets because ferrets are probably the closest to dogs and cats. In fact, ferrets are very, very strict carnivores, just like a cat. So they really need very high fat, very high protein, low carbohydrate, no fiber whatsoever in their diet. So you really need to think of them as sort of high efficiency cats in terms of what they need. So in terms of diet, it's very easy. Just a really high quality cat or kitten food, and you're good to go. They're like cats in their diet, but they're like dogs in some of the diseases they get. So they actually need to be vaccinated for canine distemper and rabies. But you have to be careful. There are only a few types of vaccines that are labeled for ferrets. Some of the common vaccines that we use in dogs and cats can actually cause disease in ferrets. You have to make sure that your veterinarian is aware of that and that you're using a ferret-specific vaccine.
Okay.
Other than that, they're actually really easy. They have a lot of personality. They're really like playful, feisty, fun animals. They generally do well in groups, so people rarely have just one ferret. You've got a herd. And so they do really well. They don't need a huge amount of space. You know, they're like cats, so they sleep sort of 20 hours a day and then are ridiculously active for 4 hours a day. And so I think they work really well and are very easy to incorporate into a typical household. They don't need to go outside. In fact, they probably shouldn't go outside. They don't need any special training. They can be litter box trained really easily. So they work pretty well that way. They do get some unique diseases to ferrets. So, but I think, you know, certainly veterinarians going through Cornell, I have to say, are pretty aware of those diseases. And most veterinarians that see ferrets are aware of some of the unique problems that ferrets get. But regular health checkups are really important for these guys. So I recommend yearly until they're about 5, and then even twice a year after that.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I think sometimes with the smaller animals, particularly with rabbits, we see sometimes at the shelter, people feel as though, you know, they're a good starter pet
Right, yeah.
because they think they involve a little less care than a dog or cat. You know, you don't have to walk them, you know, and all that stuff. So I think we see a lot of adopters who look towards rabbits and say, well, this might be something to get the kids started on, you know, a path to having pets in the house regularly. And I don't know if that always works out because people think that they need a lot less care than they do.
Right, yeah.
What do rabbits need that, you know, a dog or a cat wouldn't need, or how are they different from your normal companion animal?
Right. Rabbits are very different. So that's actually a really good thing. They're not a good impulse buy, nor is really any pet, as you're aware. But rabbits, really, in a lot of ways, in terms of their diet and the digestive needs and their nutritional needs, are almost like little horses. So they've got some really specific needs in terms of the amount of hay that they eat, the amount of roughage that they have to chew every day in order to prevent a lot of dental problems. So a lot of problems that we see in pet rabbits are related to the fact that people don't feed them what they need. And generally, it's because they think, oh, rabbit pellets, that's all I need. Like my dog needs just dog food, my rabbit just needs rabbit pellets. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They need a lot of really high roughage, poor quality hay, poor quality greens, grass, all sorts of things. You know, true, they don't need to go outside, although you can certainly let them out in sheltered areas, always watching them. And they will do well with that. But yeah, the nutritional needs are not quite as easy as I think as you may think, at least initially.
Yeah, they also have some handling needs too. You need to kind of really be educated on how to handle a
Right.
rabbit properly and make sure, especially with kids, you know, they can sometimes handle animals a little bit more roughly. And rabbits do need a certain amount of training to have in the home, correct?
Right. The biggest problem with rabbits is, they've got this great big huge muscle mass in their back leg for running. They run very well and very fast, up to about 40 miles an hour. And because of that, they've got this great big muscle mass, and then they actually tend to have fairly low density bones. So if you took a rabbit and a cat of the same weight, the rabbit's bone density is only about 6 or 7% of its whole body weight, whereas a cat it's like 11, 12. So huge difference there. So you put big muscle mass and a small bone or light bone. If rabbits kick too much or hyperextend or overextend their back legs when they're kicking, which usually happens if you're holding them incorrectly and their back legs sort of kick out, they can actually fracture their back or luxate, which is basically dislocate their spine, which of course is often fatal. So really important when you're handling rabbits to always make sure you have the back legs on something solid with a good grip, so nothing slippery, because it can even happen on slippery floors sometimes. And if you're picking a rabbit up, you always have the back legs or the pelvis or kind of the butt in your hand, so that you're preventing that from happening. It's not hard to do it, but you do need to think about it when you're working with them.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I think a little bit later we're going to see a video about some rabbit handling as well as a medical exam a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, so you should be able to see that sort of butt control in that.
Great. Now, you obviously work with all different types of exotics. Right. These are just the ones that we see in the shelter a little bit more frequently. Why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the more exotic animals locally we see in our community that some Tompkins County residents might have, and come to bring them to you at Cornell for care?
So we certainly see a lot of rabbits, ferrets, and mammals, but we also see a lot of birds. Big birds, little birds, backyard birds, chickens, ducks, geese. All that kind of fun stuff. We actually have a Tompkins County resident that has kangaroos. So he's got a pod of kangaroos, as they're called, which is really fun for me to go out and work with them or have them brought in. It's always, they get a lot of eye traffic, people wanting to watch them.
I'm sure.
People have, some of the otter pets are like quadrumundis, which is a South American raccoon. Apparently, occasionally we'll get things like kinkajous or other animals like that. Skunks aren't legal in this area, in this state, but we do occasionally see skunks from Pennsylvania or New Jersey that come up for, descenting or some other fun procedure. So.
And I know you often are called on to work with zoos, perhaps outside of the area, and travel pretty extensively. What are some of the more really exotic animals you see sort of worldwide, or what are some of the ways you've been involved with either protecting animal species that might be endangered, or some of the things you've seen in your travels? So
yeah, I do a fair amount of work in both Central and South America. I take a class of vet students to South America, generally every January, to get out of the cold Ithaca weather. And there we work with macaws and some other small zoos, which is really neat. 2 summers ago, there's a wildlife sanctuary in Bolivia that I've worked with several times. And a couple summers ago, I took some vet students, and we actually went down into the jungle and actually spayed and neutered these animals that were non-releasable, living actually in pretty nice enclosures within the jungle, within their sort of normal habitat. But spaying and neutering them just made it easier to manage them. And also, when the female jaguars go into heat, in their jungle enclosures, they actually attract wild male jaguars to the enclosure, which, if you're walking out to feed the animal,
jungle interesting, I'm sure.
So it scares, it's detrimental to both parties. So. But yeah, so that's been I've had some pretty good adventures. I actually just got back from a cruise with parrot lovers. So we literally cruised around giving lectures on the sea days about, different aspects of parrot behavior and parrot medicine and things. It was really fun.
Awesome. Well, obviously I'm a big fan of everything that you do, and certainly really appreciate all that you do for us here at the SPCA. So definitely want to thank you for joining us today, and certainly look forward to seeing a little bit more footage later about some rabbit handling, which will be great for our viewers. So thank you all again. We're going to be checking back in the shelter in a few minutes with some more footage about some exotics. And also we'll be checking in with Sarah Post, who will be talking to us about some recent adoptions and a Happy Tales adoption update. And we'll talk about any animals that have been adopted on previous episodes. So thank you all again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the show.
sure that you have control of the back legs and the pelvis at all times. If rabbits kick out vigorously and there's nothing under them, then they will actually kick out, hyperextend, and fracture or luxate their spine, which is a bad thing. So, when going in here to grab these guys, just open the carrier. Usually what I do is reach in, face the rabbit towards me, and actually reach my hands around the back of the rabbit so that I can hold the legs and the pelvis tucked in, and then hold the animal towards me.
Show us what you're doing. Great.
So I have the animal back legs in my hands so he can't kick out if he wants to. Then I'll quickly put him down on the table. He's going to feel much more secure if he's on a flat surface. If you're worried and he seems nervous about being high off the ground, feel free to sit on the ground and do your physical exam like that. Whenever doing a physical exam, other ways for handling and restraint if you need to actually carry a rabbit somewhere. And generally, we carry them around the hospital in the carrier, just in case you come around the corner and run into a big dog or something like that, you won't be able inside the carrier. If you have to move them from one place to another, a couple ways to do that. When picking them up off a flat surface, you just reach your hand under the front feet. I have one finger in between the legs, and then I just scoop up the back, and I can flip him over and hold him sort of cradled this way. That works well if I wanted to show somebody his feet, or when we're taking the temperature, we'll do this as well. Doing the nails, things like that, that works well. Otherwise, if you want to actually move him from place to place, face the rabbit towards you, and you want to actually tuck their body into your armpit and scoop up the back and sort of lay them across your arm. So his eyes are hidden. Anytime a rabbit starts to get stressed out, just cover their eyes. They're very visual animals, so they will often calm down quite a bit. And so this way I can scruff him and kind of hold him tightly, and I've got his butt here so I can move around in relative safety. But in general, we don't carry them around too much. So, doing a physical exam, like other species, you want to just be systematic in your approach. I generally start at the nose and work my way backwards, except I leave the oral exam for last, because they don't like that. So I will usually leave him over here so that now you can help me in case we need to. Usually I just look at the eyes. Certainly he's bright and alert, hydration. And then to go back to the cage, we bring the cage to the animal. Most of the time, if you point them in the right direction, they will go. Because they like it. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sarah, the Adoptions Manager at the SPCA of Tompkins County, and I'm here to update you on some animals who we've adopted out. And since last week's episode, Arthur the dog has found a forever home. And now I'll tell you about Heath. We received a letter from his adopter. He was a gorgeous, fluffy black bunny who was a little bit nervous at the shelter, but it sounds like he's flourished in his new home. And here's what his adopter reports. I'm writing to update you on Heath the bunny. I'm so happy to say that Heath is doing extremely well. He has warmed up to my whole family and is just the sweetest little thing. He loves his new home and enjoys running as well as hopping around. We all love this little fluff ball so much and are so happy he has come around and improved so much. He loves to be pet and comes running when I open the carrot yogurt chip treat bag. He makes us all so happy and we're so excited to give him his forever home. And next, last week we adopted out 2 female geckos who came to us from a local case where they were abandoned in a trailer, and here's their update. We adopted 2 sweet geckos who the SPCA seized after they had been abandoned in a trailer. They're loving their new huge aquarium, fresh crickets daily, and rocks to climb on. We can't believe how much entertainment and joy Maida and Tally have brought to our lives. Thank you, SPCA, for all that you do. If you would like to share your SPCA Happy Tales adoption update, visit our Facebook page and search for SPCA of Tompkins County. Thank you.